All right, guys, what's up? We are back. I'm rolling. And if you're wondering why I have this hat on my head, it's because it's Indiana and almost May, and it's still freaking cold outside. That's why. Mark ain't got no hair. That's all right. All right, y'all. So check this out real quick. I wanted to dip in here with this. I am on Alignable, and Alignable is, I guess, kind of a social networking platform for business owners. I got invited maybe a year or two ago, but I subscribe to the little questions, I guess, and things that come in, but I really am not active on here. But this question came across. I thought it was really apropos to what's going on now. And the question is asked of the group. I represent a client looking to open a restaurant that has been in the works for 6 months. Any advice on receiving concessions from landlord? What negotiating points would you use? So we'll ask that again. This person is saying, I represent a client looking to open a restaurant that has been in the works for 6 months. Any advice on receiving concessions from the landlord? What negotiating points would you use? Well, that's interesting. Good question. And a lot of people are in that scenario right now. I have my answer, what I think, what I would do. But let's see what the group has to say. And there may be some answers that are better than others, you know. Okay, consider this. How many pre-configured restaurant spaces will be vacated the next 6 months due to collapsing sales? This will become, if it's not already, a tenant's market to pick and choose. I predict landlords will start lowering rent for their existing tenants to keep them in place and alive, a far cheaper proposition than empty spaces. Have your client be on the lookout for existing businesses that are pre-configured for both takeout and dining room space to suit the present curbside sales climate, and knowing that table service will likely be limited compared to the past by blah, 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 blah. Okay. That's a good answer, right? I agree. Next one. Honestly, I'd suggest referring this client to a commercial real estate broker familiar with retail restaurant leases. Yes. I would be very cautious. Next person. I would be very cautious with opening any business right now, and much more with opening a restaurant during the time of pandemic. If I have to open because it was already underway, I would have to negotiate a new lease based on our new reality. I would ask the landlord to lower rent for the next 3 months, which would have to be at least half the original rent, and gradually increase for the next 6 months to a year. We have no idea what awaits us during that time, and it's better to play it safe than be overcommitted. Okay, that could be a possibility. It depends. If you're already in a contract, that's, you know, it's rough on both people. The landlord and the tenant are partners, inseparable partners at the end of the day. Landlords, commercial landlords, can be kind of in their own little way, but ultimately they need a tenant. That's with anything with real estate. If you're not living in it, leasing it, or selling it, it ain't nothing but a pile of bricks. Okay, next person. Let's get rid of that. This person says, banks have put a freeze on lending for restaurants until they are open and have positive sales. Your client will need to be liquid enough to cover upfit equipment. I agree with this. The next person says, I agree with the previous person, and to stay within your area of expertise. So I guess the person that's asking this question is maybe a residential broker. I'm not sure. If you are opening your restaurant or looking for space, hire a commercial broker. The landlord pays the broker. Okay, so they will do, you guys can shop together. They will help you negotiate. One thing I will say about all brokers, they are there to close a deal. So put your own thought and your own judgment and what's in your heart as to locations and space and whatnot, because they want to close a deal like the landlord wants a tenant. Their job is to not see you get worked or taken advantage of, but at the same time, if you don't feel something in your gut, you know, you look as long as you want to and negotiate whatever kind of terms that will work for you. A couple more questions. I agree with some of the other posts. A broker familiar with commercial/retail leases would be a good start. If you're a residential agent, you need to go refer this to a commercial broker that actually does it for a living. Yes. This person says the only time you will ever have leverage is in the negotiating process. What I've had success with is running a range of pro formas to see what would be a reasonable rent at different sales level. Then take the lowest rent, for example, 5% of rent at your most disappointing sales number, and offset that by charging part of the build out to the landlord. Some landlords will foot the bill for the build out rather than lower the rent for, say, the first 2 years. It depends. If you're a mom and pop place, if I own the commercial real estate, I'm not building out anything. Okay, it's a triple net lease. You're leasing the dirt and everything inside of it. So I'm not doing all that. But maybe this is a commercial strip mall situation. Who knows? I personally like freestanding restaurants, freestanding spaces. Story for another time. Robert says, right now my best advice is not to sign anything. The economy is in a downward spiral and we are not at the bottom. At recessionary times, landlords are far more amenable to free rent and TI concessions, tenant improvement. Right now, they're unsure of the future and what government help will be available. So a lot of people in this situation, what if you are just about to open? What if you've already put everything in the spot and your lease is set to execute May 1st, right? Tomorrow. You got a little situation. I like this answer so far. If concessions could be negotiated, now is probably the best time in history to do so. Your client needs to pick his location, hire a good business broker or commercial realtor, and ask for whatever he or she wants. I agree with that. So we need more information from the person who asked the question. And going back to that, the question was, they've been working, it's been in the works for 6 months, and they're looking to open a restaurant. So what does that mean? They are building out from a raw space. They have their concept and they're about to go in. They have already been in there and built out and they're ready to open. We need some more information there, but some of those answers were good ones. Basically, if you haven't signed anything and if your heart is not dead set on that location, I would negotiate some terms that will work for you, or walk. I would wait, honestly, right now, but if you've bought everything and you're ready to go, I mean, you're ready to go. I've owned the spots that I have operated out of, and I've also been a tenant. Typically, a couple times that we've been tenants, you'll sign the lease. Well, the situation we had, you'll sign the lease, you'll get whatever, 90 days, maybe 3 months, 4 months of rent concessions, free rent, and then you'll pay rent on the 4th month or whatever it is. Usually there is, for the landlord to protect him or herself, usually there's a pretty healthy deposit put down by the tenant with a personal guarantee for maybe the first year of the lease. Maybe that'll drop off after the 2nd year. If you're experienced around town and people know you, you won't have to sign, or you won't have to have the personal guarantee in your lease. But typically you get, 2, 3, maybe 6 months of rent abatement before you have to start paying. So that's definitely what you want to consider and have that as part of your, definitely in the process. The deposit may be a couple of months rent. So if your rent is $3,000 a month, maybe your deposit up front is $6,000, and then after 3 months or 4 months, you'll pay the $3,000 normally it is per month. If you close or flake out or whatnot, the landlord keeps the deposit and sometimes everything into place. If you break the lease, it depends. There's a lot of ways to get out of your lease. A couple more here. The reality is one and very simple. The risk is 100% on the tenant side. Today, I have multiple clients in a similar situation. What type of concessions are you looking for? Time, money, or tenant improvement? I am a real estate broker. Feel free to reach out. So now come everybody's commercials, of course. Maybe a couple more. Here's another person advertising. I don't blame them. And there's some people chiming in that kind of, you know, I agree you need a commercial real estate broker. He or she knows what concessions may be realistic and likely to succeed. Right, definitely hire a broker, hire the professional. The real estate broker, commercial broker, talks about the economics of the lease, really not the terms. If you want to negotiate real deeper into the lease, you may want to get an attorney. But your commercial broker is strictly there for the financial end of the contract, right? Okay, and a couple people weighed in here. Your lease should be based on a percentage of sales, full stop. Somewhere between 4 and 6% is fair, plus CAM or net. No. I have never shared any of my sales or given my landlord a piece of my sales or percentage of sales. It's none of your business what I make. At least maybe that's for a mall situation or something like that. But if you are an independent mom and pop kind of place, neighborhood joint, no, the landlord doesn't need to know how much I make and won't get a percentage of my sales. Why would I do that? There's already enough people in your pocket every month for a couple percent here, there, or whatnot. So no, disagree with that. A good lease though, typically, because if you want to lock up a decent location, do a 3, 3, and 3. It's a good place to start. So 3-year lease with 3 3-year options. So you're in there for 10 years, or you got the property locked up for about 10 years. So the first 3, you see how you do. If you want to stick around, usually in the first 3 or less, you'll figure out if you're going to close. And then if you do jam, but you're tired and you want to get out of it, you have the building, you have the location locked up for 10 years to be, you know, in a favorable negotiating position or sales position with the business. So if somebody wants to buy that from you, they have a decent lease with 7 years left on it, 6 years left on it, whatever. So try to get a kind of a longer lease, but shorter terms within that, with your options. Basically, I mean, the tenant, you know, the ball's in the tenant's court right now. So if you can wait, I would really, if anything, guys, I would wait. I would wait on the concept at least for another year, because you're going to pick up a lot better locations. You are going to, probably have a lot of equipment or people kind of turning in keys type situation. So that's what our deal was with the last location we were in, is the previous tenant left everything behind, just basically turned over keys. So we had all the furniture, fixtures, equipment. We had extra stuff. And then we wound up getting it appraised after a couple months from an auction house, and bought everything off the landlord for like a couple grand. And it was probably retail. Oh man, there was at least 30 to 40 grand worth of stuff in there. And I think we wrote them a check for $2,200. So wait, don't be too eager. Okay, let's see if we got anything else. I just wanted to pop in here real quick, guys. Our mission here at the channel is to preserve and protect the neighborhood small business. This is what it's about. This is what keeps the glue together in communities and cities. May have another video coming up with some good information from some people advocating for the industry. But that's what we're here for. We want to preserve and protect the local mom and pop. But yeah, hire a commercial broker. Don't be in a rush. Negotiate strong. Have a couple of 2 or 3 locations that you like, right? What you do not do is give the landlord any piece of your sales. They don't need to know how much you're selling, right? Try to be at about 5% of your rent, 5% of your sales. No more than 5% of your sales be your rent, not be more than 5% of your monthly sales. That's what you want to work on, okay? Unless you're selling beer or wine or have a bar, something like that, you can have a little bit more in rent expense, 7%, 8%, 10%. If you don't have any of that, you want your rent expense to be no more than 5%, okay? Or it's going to be hard to make money. You'll be choking on your rent. And we'll talk about that. All right, I guess that's it. All right, hope you all are well. We'll see you next time.